There are wounds that don't bleed. They leave only exhaustion. They leave you doubting yourself. That's not love. That's narcissistic abuse, sweetness laced with poison. A power game disguised as hugs and the words, "I only want what's best for you." Ever been there? At first, it's a dream. They care too much, understand too deeply. But little by little, you shrink. Friends disappear. Confidence fades. Until one day you whisper to yourself, "Am I going crazy?" They never lay a hand on you yet. The pain cuts deeper than any blow. The Stoics warned, what destroys us is not hardship, but surrendering our mind to another. And narcissistic abuse is exactly that, the art of stealing your mind drip by drip. In this video, I'll show you 5 signs you cannot ignore. This isn't dry theory. These are red flags plain as day, so you can see when you're being manipulated, and more importantly, how to break free. But first, let me ask, have you ever experienced this kind of sweet abuse? Drop a comment. Your story might be the light that wakes someone else up before it's too late. Sign 1. Control narcissists don't start with. From now on, you do what I say. If they were that blunt, you'd have run on day 1. They're smarter. They start with what looks like care. And you get confused. You think it's love, while in reality the ropes are being tied one by one. Michael, a banker in New York, told me about his ex. At first she asked, "Are you okay? That friend of yours seems to take advantage of you." Just a light breeze of a sentence. But months later, Michael realized he had lost touch with all his closest friends. Nobody forced him. It's just that every time he wanted to meet them, she would drop a small, guilty hint. And so he stopped. That's how narcissistic control works. No yelling, no bans. They make you clear away your own freedom just to be loved. Sarah, a teacher in Florida, went through the same. Her husband never forbade her from working extra hours. He just said, "You're teaching too much. Who's going to take care of home? I feel so lonely without you." Sarah fell for it. She dropped her side work, then her independence, then herself. Nobody forced her. But she was led to believe she chose it. That's the sweetest kind of shackle, the one you put on yourself, a mistake for love. Narcissists are masters at disguising control as sacrifice, as we're better off this way. They turn you into a fish in a glass tank. The water is clean, the food is steady, but the ocean is gone. How do you spot it? Simple: notice how you feel after their concern. Do you feel bigger, more open, or smaller, more caged? Real love makes you expand. Narcissism makes you shrink, then convinces you shrinking is safe. How do you fight back? Write it down. Track every suggestion they make. A week, a month later, read it back. You'll see the picture, your freedoms vanishing piece by piece. Then start setting boundaries. Small ones. Meet a friend without telling. Keep your phone private. Say it plainly, "This is my choice." If they respect it, that's care. If they explode, you just tore the mask off. The Stoics said slavery doesn't begin with chains. It begins the moment you let someone else speak in place of your will. Freedom doesn't vanish in one slash. It leaks away until you drown without noticing. Remember, this love doesn't need your phone password. Love doesn't demand a schedule. Love doesn't require approval of your friends. Love needs one thing only: the free presence of 2 people. Anything else, no matter how sweet, if it makes you smaller, that's not love. That's captivity. Sign 2, gaslighting. Gaslighting is the cruelest form of psychological violence. It doesn't hit you. It doesn't lock you up. It makes you doubt your own memory and emotions. Once you stop trusting yourself, you have nothing left to fight with. Sarah, a woman in Ohio, remembers one rainy night. Her husband forgot to close the window. Rain poured in, soaking the carpet. When she brought it up, he exploded. "I told you to close it. You ignored me. You ruined it, and now you're blaming me." His voice grew louder, swearing by it. Sarah trembled but protested, "No, I saw." He cut her off. "You always remember wrong. You're too sensitive. You make things up." The first time she was sure of her memory. The second time less sure. By the 10th, she doubted herself. Maybe I really forgot. Maybe he's right. Eventually, she apologized, not because she believed, but because she was tired. But repeat an apology long enough, and it becomes habit. Then belief. By then, Sarah was bent. That's the game of gaslighting. It doesn't win with one big strike. It wins with hundreds of needles. At first you fight, then you compromise, then you silence yourself. The moment you start whispering, "Maybe I'm wrong," gaslighting has won. The Stoics saw this centuries ago. Epictetus wrote, "No enemy can take my soul. But if they trick me into surrendering my judgment, I've given it away myself." Destruction doesn't begin outside. It begins the moment you trust someone else's word more than your own perception. How do you spot gaslighting? Pay attention to confusion. If every disagreement leaves you dazed, foggy, doubting your own memory, that's not an argument. That's gaslighting. Someone who loves you may disagree, but you'll leave the talk clearer. A gaslighter leaves you so tangled, you can only stay quiet. How to break free? First, write it down. A record is your strongest weapon. When it happens, note the date, the time, the details, even how you felt. Later, when they deny it, you don't have to argue, you just look at black ink on white paper. Second, reality check with someone outside. Share with a trusted friend. "This is what I remember." Am I crazy? Like one confirmation is enough to pull you out of the maze they built. Third, don't get trapped in endless debates. Gaslighting isn't a search for truth. It's theater designed to make you lose your calm. Don't play the role. When they say, "You remembered wrong," you can simply reply, "Maybe, but I'll trust my own memory." One short, firm sentence shuts down the game. Victims of gaslighting fall because they believe they must prove the truth. But truth doesn't need proof to those who refuse to believe. You don't owe them evidence. You owe yourself clarity. Gaslighting doesn't make you insane. It just turns your world into a hall of distorted mirrors where every reflection looks twisted. The only way out is not fixing each mirror, it's stepping outside the room. And once you do, you'll see you were never twisted. You were just looking into the wrong glass. Sign 3. So isolation. One of the narcissist's oldest moves is this. They strip you down until you only have them. No friends, no family, no allies. They rarely say it outright, "Don't see anyone else." No, they're subtler. They plant seeds of doubt drop by drop until you cut down every branch of connection with your own hands. David, an engineer in Boston, said his wife often made casual remarks about his friends. Not bans, just sarcastic little darts. "Don't you see Mark's always jealous of you?" Or, "I don't like the vibe of your old crew." They drag you down. Slowly, David pulled away, thinking he was choosing better company. Until one day he realized he had no one left but her. And when arguments came, there was nowhere to run, no one to call. He was cornered. Julia, a woman in Denver, got another version of the trap. Her boyfriend created emergencies whenever she planned to see family. On her mom's birthday, he suddenly had a stomachache. The day she planned to visit her sister, he suggested a surprise trip to rekindle love. Julia gave in one time, then another. She thought it was love that it meant putting him first. But really, she was being cut off from the only voices that could keep her sane. That's isolation, the narcissist's invisible prison. You still have numbers in your phone. You still technically can call your parents. But you don't. Because you feel guilty. Because you worry it'll upset them. That's not choice. That's a net of guilt wrapped tight. Picture a wolf pulling a sheep away from the flock. It doesn't attack right away. It just waits until the sheep is alone, then it's easy prey. That's exactly how narcissists hunt. They isolate you. So when you collapse in silence. Seneca warned, he who cannot keep his circle will soon be swallowed by another's. That's what isolation does. It doesn't just take your friends, it takes the walls protecting your mind. How do you spot it? Simple. If you feel hesitant to reach out to old friends, if your family complains, "We never see you anymore." If you weigh, "What will they think?" before every visit, you're no longer free. You're being steered. How do you fight back? Do the exact opposite of what they want. Call an old friend, even if it feels awkward after months. Have lunch with coworkers, even if you see their glare. Schedule a family dinner that's non-negotiable, sacred as a temple. You don't need to explain, because if you must ask permission to see your own blood, that's not love. That's velvet-wrapped captivity. Isolation is never a sign of healthy love. True love expands your circle, it doesn't shrink it. If you're standing in a circle with only one person and that person holds every key, you're not in love. You're in a cage. And the only exit is the one you open yourself. Sign 4. Guilt as a leash. If control is the cage, guilt is the bait inside. A narcissist doesn't need chains. All they need is one line. "If you really loved me, you would..." And just like that, you tie yourself up to prove love. They turn love into debt. The more you give, the more they demand. The more you sacrifice, the deeper they stab you with, "Why isn't it enough?" until you can't even tell if you're loving or just repaying. David shared how his ex-wife mastered this game. She'd say, "Don't forget, I quit my job for you. Do you know what I gave up?" Every time David wanted to do something for himself, those words landed like a verdict. And he lost before he could even speak. Julia faced the opposite flavor. Her boyfriend played the victim. "I was abandoned before. I'm terrified you'll leave me too. If you're not here, I'll break." Julia stayed not out of love, but out of fear of being cruel. That's the trap. You're no longer free to choose. Any option other than pleasing them gets labeled as selfish, heartless betrayal. How to spot it? You know you're being guilt-tripped if when you think about doing something for yourself, the first question isn't, "Do I want this?" but, "Will they get mad?" or worse, you feel guilty just imagining it, even before you act. That means you've got a mini version of them sitting in your head, handing out grades and punishments. How to break free? Flip the script. When they throw, "I'm disappointed," and you ask back, "But if I don't do this, would I be disappointed in myself?" Make yourself the referee, not them. Another technique, train your no muscle on small things. Not wars, just tiny refusals. Like when they say, "Grab this for me," while you're busy, you calmly say, "Not now." Each small no is a rep. Over time, you'll grow the spiritual muscle to resist their bigger guilt traps. Marcus Aurelius put it clean: "Others may demand, but only I decide what I give." Love is not debt. It doesn't come with invoices, receipts, or proof. If someone turns love into a tax sheet, what you're paying is not affection, it's your freedom. Sign 5. Breaking down your worth. The fastest way to turn a person into a shadow is to crush their confidence. But narcissists rarely do it with blunt force. They don't scream you're worthless. They're subtler. They inject poison with a fine needle, drip by drip, until you collapse without realizing. Alex, an architect in New Jersey, said his wife never insulted him outright. She just praised other men. But every compliment was a poisoned dart. "John at my office is so sharp, everything he says is logical. I love hearing him talk." Or "My boss is amazing at balancing work and family." Never a direct insult, just endless comparisons. Slowly, Alex began to feel outdated, mediocre, lacking. She didn't have to attack him. He attacked himself, That's the genius of devaluation, turning you into your own executioner. Lisa in Portland got the helpful corrections version. Her husband nitpicked everything gently. When she dressed, that color washes you out. Try lighter shades. When she cooked, it's good, but next time add more salt. Innocent enough once. But repeated hundreds of times, across driving, talking, even pronouncing words, Lisa stopped trusting herself. Years later, she couldn't make a decision without doubting. He didn't destroy her confidence overnight. He eroded it grain by grain. Kevin in Chicago faced another weapon rewriting his past. When he mentioned an award at work, his girlfriend cut in, "You just got lucky." Anyone liked by the boss could get that. When he recalled his old scholarship, she smirked. That school's easy to get into. Every achievement was trimmed down, bent, shrunk. Nobody smashed his mirror of self-worth. She just smeared it until his reflection disappeared. That's the malice of devaluation. It's not loud. It doesn't topple you in one strike. It wears you down like wind-sanding stone, like water-carving rock. By the time you notice you're no longer whole. Sign 6, love, bombing, and withdrawal. If devaluation is the quiet demolition, love bombing is the fireworks show at the start. And like fireworks, the brighter it is, the faster it dies, leaving smoke and the stench of something burned. Narcissists know one truth. No one walks willingly into a trap. So what do? They build you a paradise. Roses, wine, endless texts, 50. I miss you calls in one day. They flood you with affection, gifts lines like, "You're my soulmate," after 3 days of knowing you. And you, a normal human who's never taken Narcissism 101, of course, fall in love. Kevin, a musician in Nashville, said his ex once called him 50 times in a day. He felt like a rock star, wanted adored, worshipped. Until one day, silence. No texts, no calls. When he reached out, she ignored him. A week later, "You've disappointed me. I need space." Kevin fell from heaven to hell in 7 days. Sarah in Miami had another version. Her boyfriend painted their future in the first 2 months. "I can already see you in a wedding dress. Our kids will have your eyes." Sarah wasn't rushing, but with love bombing that intense, who wouldn't believe? Then one day he vanished. When she confronted him, he shrugged. "I'm not sure you're enough for me." She sat there stunned, like someone who just signed the mortgage only to find the house was built on sand. That's withdrawal. The cruelty isn't that they take away what you had, it's that they take away something you never had but already tasted. Like giving you the sweetest cake, getting you hooked, then snatching it back, making you beg for crumbs. Marcus Aurelius once warned, "Do not hunger for another's light, or you'll be enslaved to darkness when it fades." In love bombing, you don't think you're greedy. You think you're lucky. Finally, I found the one. And that's the moment you're trapped. The genius or the poison of this tactic is emotional addiction. When they withdraw, you don't walk away. You cling. You think, "If I just try harder, I'll get back that first love." So you turn into a junkie waiting for the dealer. They drop a crumb, "I miss you one sweet night." Hope surges. By morning, they're gone again. The cycle repeats. And you whisper, "Why can't I leave?" The answer, because you're addicted. Not to them, but to the firework high they'll never give again. How to spot it? If someone calls you "my destiny" after 72 hours, that's not fate, that's advertising. If someone maps out 10 years of future after 3 dates, they're either a prophet or a predator. And if love starts with everything, brace yourself, it will soon turn into nothing. How to escape? Do what every addict hates, cut the supply. Don't wait for the message. Don't lower your worth for scraps. Remind yourself that first high wasn't love. It was bait. You don't need to crawl back to a fake heaven. You need to build a real home for yourself. Love bombing is the perfect con. They give you the thing you crave most, just to watch you break hardest when it's gone. But if you stand up, Look straight at the truth. You'll see the only thing you lost was an illusion. And losing illusion is the first step to regaining freedom. Conclusion: narcissistic abuse is not just fights or difficult personalities. It's a system-controlled distortion, isolation, guilt, devaluation, addiction. It's a script designed to shrink you until you no longer recognize yourself. You face a choice: keep living inside their script, always apologizing, always proving, always shrinking. Or step into your own, where you don't need anyone to hand you value, don't need permission to breathe. Epictetus said it best: no one holds power over you unless you hand it to them. So if you see yourself in these 6 signs, pause. Take one step out, no matter how small. A call to an old friend, coffee with a colleague, a journal entry written just for you. These are not small acts. They're the first hammer strikes on the invisible wall. But remember, the tips I've given are armor for surviving while you're still entangled, for when money, kids, or work bind you. They are temporary shields. The only true way to heal is to leave. There is no other way. You can't cure poison in the same room it's brewed. The final question is simple: will you stay and wither, or walk away and begin again? Share your story in the comments. Your light might be the mirror someone else needs to see. They're not crazy, not alone, and not trapped forever. And if this video hit home, like, share, and subscribe. Not to feed my ego, but to build a community of clarity where no one has to live under the fist of narcissism again.